Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Good evening. My name is Giovanna Rodriguez. I am the mother of 2 amazing boys, a resident of Providence, and a domestic violence survivor. I'm a member of SOAR, which is Sisters Overcoming Abusive Relationships, a task force of the the Coalition Against Domestic Violence. I am a strong supporter of House Bill 5510, the Protect Rhode Island Families Act. I want to thank Senator Metz, Representative Tanzi, and all the elected officials who are supporting this legislation. Most people have no idea of the terror that occurs daily for so many victims, often made worse when guns are involved. It is of that terror that I am here to speak to you this evening. It is because of my personal experience with domestic violence that I believe with all my heart that guns have nothing to do in the hands of convicted abusers. Just like I believe that it's time that Rhode Island passes gun legislation that protects women, men, and children. When I met the man that later became my abuser, it seemed like a fairy tale. He swept me off my feet. He was charming, friendly, just when I wanted in a partner. Before I knew it, it went from a fairy tale to a horror story. He isolated me from my loved ones and controlled my every move. There were always consequences for everything that I did and everything that I said. It didn't take long for the physical abuse to start. The abuse was constant. He would choke me, push me around, strike me with rolled newspapers because it wouldn't leave a mark. One time, we were driving on the highway. He opened the door and tried pushing me out. Still, of all the physical horrors that I endured, nothing compared with the fear and the intimidation of having a gun as part of our daily lives. Someone coming into my home would say that the gun was the centerpiece on my dining room table. He used the gun to intimidate me. He would threaten to shoot himself, shoot me, sometimes in front of my 2 boys. When the gun was drawn, I had to plead or consent to anything that he wanted. The fear and the terror were always present. The cold pressure of the gun on my temple is something that I will never forget. It is impossible to forget. There were days that I wondered if I would live to see the next day. He never did shoot me. And eventually I was able to leave. However, many other women, men, and children, victims of domestic violence, were not as fortunate. Guns in the hands of domestic abusers can turn abuse into murder. I urge you to pass the Protect Rhode Island Families Act. Thank you.
Thank you, Giovanna. Any questions? Representative Price.
That's a terrible story. Thanks for sharing it. The person that was abusing you, was he a criminal? Did he have a criminal background, or what was his background, if you don't mind me asking?
I can say that he was not a criminal.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Did you try a women's shelter at all? Did you go to one, or call one or seek assistance from a shelter at all?
No, I did not.
Okay. Well, just to let you know, I'm sorry you had to go through that, and that is an option, and they will hide your whereabouts to keep you protected. Thank you.
With all due respect, I was isolated, and I was in a state that I did not know anyone.
I'm sorry, what's that?
With all due respect, and just to answer your question, I was in another state because he isolated me from my friends and my family. So it was pretty hard to go into a shelter.
Yes, especially if you didn't know where you were. But they generally do have them in every state, and it will take a little work to find them, but they're out there. Thank you.
Okay. Vice Chair McKinty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to thank you for your courage for coming forward. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Good job.